Oh, thank you very much. Please sit down. Thank you.
You could have stayed home and not be insulted.
So I know. I am a presentation coach, and I think I just found another client. Thank you, Richard Churchman. Also spent the day with Richard today. He's not only a terrific Rotarian, but he's a really good person. We just had so much fun tooling around. It's been a pleasure being a friend with you so long. It's an interesting thing about Rotary is you meet somebody 1 year, and a year later you say, well, I've known him for about a year. And then 3 years on, you say, well, I met him a few years back. But before you know it, you know somebody 10 or 20 years in this great organization. They are practically lifetime friends. And I, like you, I see the heads nodding. I have so many lifetime friends in Rotary. I have a lot of friends in this room, and I think I'm going to have some more friends before the weekend's over. So I'm just so pleased that you're here tonight. I feel a lot of love in the room, and it's just a special time to be back in Rotary now that all of the action's over, at least for a little while. I am representing President Jennifer Jones, who has a very high profile this year, and I think it's only going to be good for our organization. And also her husband, Dr. Nick Krajicic. They're personal friends of ours. That's not how I got the gig, but it probably didn't hurt. And they are also terrific people. And I'm just so pleased and proud to represent Jennifer this weekend. I wanted to share with you a few things that are not only important to the weekend, but they're important to me. This is my first assignment as a president's rep. I only mention that because Rotary has a lot of opportunities, and after being in the organization for 25 years, I thought maybe I'd done all the firsts I was going to do for a while. So it's an honor to have this one be my first president's rep visit. If you've been to dinners like this before, you know that the president's rep job is to talk about the same thing every year. We have to hit certain things. We have to talk about polio. We have to talk about the foundation, what we call the three-legged bar stool, foundation membership and public image. We have to talk about our major initiatives. And my job, of course, is to inspire you and help you know that good things are happening in Evanston and the world's going to be okay. And I intend to do all of that this weekend. But I have also sat through a lot of these dinners with countless president's reps. And my main thing this weekend is to deliver that same message, but perhaps in a different way than you've heard it before. And if I can get your attention in a different way than other president reps have, well, then I've done my job. So I have a special story for you in just a second. The interesting thing about an organization that's been around since 1905, and there aren't many that have been around over 100 years. If you've ever seen the list of organizations that have been around for a century, they're mostly universities, right? Of course, churches have been around hundreds and hundreds of years, but mostly universities are around 100 years, and that's it. Rotary has the same mission that it's had all this time. It's never changed. It's never varied, which makes the president's rep visit that much more challenging. We're talking about the same stuff we've always talked about. It's the same mission, which is to do nice things for people we don't know. That's what Rotary does. I don't know if you've ever thought of it that way, but it's exactly true. And we've done this through World War I. We did it through the Depression. We did it through World War II. We did it through COVID. And we're going to do it after COVID. We're going to do it next year, this year during Tim's year. We're going to do it next year. We're going to do it the year after that. We're going to do another 100 years. That's what this organization is about. It's the same value proposition we've always had, because there's value to the people that belong to the organization. Nobody ever talks about this. We give and we give and we give and we give. And we're supposed to be selfless about the giving, because we say it's service above self, don't we? And that's true. It is service above self. But you have to remember that any kind of service that makes you feel good, there's something coming back to you. And I think that's the value proposition for Rotarians. It's that feeling. Now that makes membership and recruitment that much more challenging, because it's not only difficult to talk about feelings, it's difficult to talk about feelings that you get from giving with people who aren't in the habit of giving, say non-Rotarians, people that are coming to the club. So it's a tough sales pitch. And I do a lot of sales training where we're pitching things like products and services that have real concrete benefits and features to them. But a feeling, you're going to feel good about yourself, You're going to feel better about yourself because you're doing nice things for people you don't know? How do we talk about this? How do we sell it to people? So that's what's on the table as we get this thing going. And I wanted to share a story with you that ties all of this together, and it's interesting that the story involves you guys. This area exactly. Because a few years back, my brother, who lives in a city called Prairieville, not too far out of Baton Rouge, called me to tell me something I didn't want to ever hear from him. And we had been tracking a storm that had been coming through the area, and Rob was not himself. I knew right away something was wrong when he called, and I'm listening carefully, and it was one of those slow motion conversations that just comes out, and you're hearing bad news, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's kind of like the weather. It's happening, there's nothing you can do to stop it. And he said, well, the storm hit, and I said, what happened? He said, we're completely flooded. And now this is a surprise to the people in Prairieville because they don't live in the floodplain. By the way, they've all been forced now to buy flood insurance. Some of you maybe, for the next 1,000-year storm, right? And he was, his voice was trembling, and he was, like I say, not himself. Now, I'm the oldest of 4 brothers. Rob is the youngest of the 4 brothers. And I had never had a conversation with my brother like this before. And he said, we've lost everything. Everything that's in the house has to go, and there's a procedure for this. I learned that the term is mucking out, I think you call it. Yeah. And I said, well, what can I do to help? He said, well, the people are coming over to help us with this in a couple days. And I said, I'll be there. What day is it? Give me the time. Let me see if I get a flight down there. I'll be there for that. And it was a painful conversation because as the oldest brother, how many of you are the oldest sibling in your family? We are the standard bearers in the family. We are the people that look after the other brothers. There's an unspoken script in our family that if I ask my brothers how they're doing, I'm checking up on them, right? It doesn't work the other way. When my brother Rob calls me, he's not checking up on me. He's just asking me how I'm doing. If I call my brother, I'm checking up on him. And so we have this special relationship, and I've been looking after my brothers in that way all this time. And I feel for him, and I'm coming down, and I said, who's helping you with this process? And he says, I don't know, it's a community group. And I smiled to myself because I thought in my heart, Rotary's got to be involved, right? How cool is this? And so when we hung up the phone and I made plans, I had some things going, I canceled them, and I was going to go down and see my brother and help in his time of need. And I flew down, and it was an interesting time because you could fly into the airport okay, but you couldn't get a rental car to get to the neighborhoods because they were all eaten up by consumers. So finally, I got an Uber. It was the first time ever I was picked up in an F-150. A big Ford truck, right? And the reason, probably more of them in Louisiana than Michigan. But I needed an F-150 to get in my brother's neighborhood. No other thing but a tank was going to get to my brother's house. And when we started to do the drive, it was an interesting smell in the air that I had never smelled before. And it was the sitting water. It had already been there sitting for a few days. It was a hot summer. It was August, I believe, back then. And you know what's happening. Everything's cooking in the water now, right? What's that? You know. Where do you live?
We live in Prairieville.
Yeah. So you're gonna love this story. You'd be like reliving the past. So we roll into Rob's neighborhood, and some of you have been first responders before. This is my first time. Anybody been a first responder to anything? Yeah. And some of you are about to do it, and some of you will, have the same feeling. And I noticed as we're rolling into the neighborhood, of course, we're trying to navigate the roads and trying to get in, but the other thing that really struck me was it looked like everybody was having an estate sale on the same day. Because everybody had taken their furniture out because if your stuff gets wet, it has to go. There is no saving it. This is the terrible, terrible thing about water damage. And we rolled up to my brother's house, and I saw my brother's furniture in the front yard. The credenza where he had his pictures of his family, because I'd been to my brother's house for holidays and stuff, right? And the couch that I had sat in is in the front yard. And I'm not even in the house yet, and I'm choked up, And I walk up the driveway, and I don't have to knock. He knows I'm coming. It's an odd thing anyway. I'm in at 5. It's like 5:15 in the morning, because it's going to be a long day for this mucking out. I let myself in. Rob's not anywhere to be found. It turns out he's in the backyard. He comes in the back door of the house, and my brother's a very gregarious person. He's the youngest child. They say the youngest child likes attention, and so he's always on stage, right? And he doesn't say anything to me. He just walks toward me, and he fell into my arms. And that's, I like him. And it was a moment, you know, and I'm there to help and support him. And I said, he's taking me around the house, and we're walking through, and the carpeting squishing, you know, shooting shoes. And I said, what time is the crew getting here? Because there's a ray of sunshine, right? Because I think I want to meet some fellow Rotarians. This is great. Because I've been in Rotary about 20 years by then, and I've got friends down here, and so I'm anticipating a little sunshine here. And he says, I don't know. He says, when they get here, and it seemed like forever. You know, they probably got there about 6 o'clock, but it seemed like forever, and we're waiting and waiting. And finally, he says they're here. And when I walk out to their driveway, and they're all getting out of their trucks, and they've got flat pan shovels, and they've got generators, and they've got thermoses. There's no power, of course, in the house. No AC. We're going to do this thing with masks way before COVID, and fans to run hot air through the house, so you at least had some circulation in this tepid air. And I go to approach the guys, you know, and we're like a football team choosing up sides, you know, flipping the coin, because deciding who's going to go in first and that kind of thing, getting to know each other. And I said to the crew, I said, where are you from? And they said, Kiwanis. And it made me feel so good, because there are lots of people like us that do what we do, and they're called different names. And you don't have to belong to an organization to do nice things for people you don't know. Some people think Kiwanis is a competition. I think that in cooperation. I think it makes us stronger, you know. And they were fantastic. We worked for 14 hours that day, mucking out the house, getting that sloshy, slippery insulation out of the house, using a saber saw to cut the walls. You know the drill. What is it, 24 inches above the floor? And I'd never been through this before. Yeah, it depends on how high the water is. Very good. And this was an experience, you know, it's a home. Somebody lives here, and you could go to one end of the house and bend over and look through the entire house, because there were no walls at the baseboards. Amazing. And these people were like dogs, man. And we got it done. And then, of course, that's just the demo. Now everything has to be repaired. I mean, you're not even halfway done at the end of that ordeal. But the happy ending is, of course, that they ended up working through it. FEMA comes through, a construction crew comes through, gives everybody some rates because business is good for everybody. And now here's the backstory. I found out that Rotary was involved with my brother's assistance. They had sent some money to the neighborhood, and indirectly, my brother, perhaps directly, my brother benefited. And Michael Hayes was involved at the time, and Michael Collins. I didn't know this until today. Michael Collins was involved at the time. I think I made an initial call to Rich Churchman just to see what the state of affairs was down here. And everybody helped. Everybody did what they could. And when my brother I'm assured, my brother got no special treatment. It just turned out that way. And the Kiwanians certainly didn't know who he was. I invited my brother to come here tonight to be with me, to thank you personally. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. He's got a job now in Dallas, and he's spending his time between Prairieville and Dallas. So on behalf of my brother, I want to thank you very much, because it was you guys that helped him that day. And you didn't know you were helping him, did you? But this part of the Rotary world came through for him, and I'll be forever grateful. When I had the opportunity to come down to do this, Richard and I teased each other a little bit, but I knew I was coming as soon as he asked me, because I wanted to give you this message. Did you like the story? Yes, sir.
I missed the story from the beginning. Was this a flood of 2016?
Was it 16?
Yes.
Were you impacted as well?
Oh, no, not me, no.
Yeah.
Clara, we were on Alaskan, we were on a Rotary cruise to Alaska when this happened.
Wow. And you came home to it. Wow. Yeah. So the world will throw you some curveballs, ladies and gentlemen, and it's organizations like this that help you hit the curveball, and it's an amazing thing. And that's why when people ask me about my Rotary, I don't keep track of how many years anymore. I just say I'm a lifetime Rotarian. I'll be with this organization until the day I die, because it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Famous YouTube video with me on YouTube telling people it's the best decision I ever made. And I just got engaged to be married, so maybe I have to re-rank that at some point. And by the way, Renee Pothetis, the redhead, we call her, sends her regards as well. She's going to be so sorry she missed meeting all of you and spending time with you, but another time. I wanted to talk quickly about some things that we are going to talk about. I'm going to be visiting with you a couple more times here before we're done. We are going to talk about the three-legged bar stool, and in this order probably, improving, because we have to come to discounts, we have fun, and we eat good food, and we have some laughs, and we visit and stuff, but we also come to be better. Please tell me you're here to be better next year at this giving thing, and at helping people we don't know, right? We're going to get better. And it's a measurement. You can take the measurement, and it's measured in numbers. All good goals have numbers, and the numbers come in 3 areas. Number 1, public image. Now that's the hardest one to measure, but we measure it by proxy because membership is directly impacted by how we present our clubs and our activities and our value proposition to the outside world. If we do image right, membership grows. And that's been one of the concerns about membership in North America, that if it's not doing what it should be doing, we must not be doing image right. And I think there's something to that theory. So how can we improve image is one thing I'm going to help you with. How can we improve membership, which is much more easily measured? And then also, how do we measure giving? And that's easy, of course, through the foundation. That's the easiest one to measure, right? So with your patience, we're going to work through those things in my next times I visit with you. I'd like to end each session with a little Q&A. If you have anything at all you want to ask me about my hair, or whatever, I'm happy to help. I'm here on behalf of Rotary International. I don't know everything that's going on, but if there's something that's on your mind that we can address, this is a good time to do it. Do you have any questions? Or are you just warming up?
Is it true about your hair?
It is true. It is true. I do not own a comb or a brush. I grew up in an 80s hair band, and I gave my hair way too much attention in that decade. I don't need to spend any time on it now. I'm just lucky to have it, as you are, sir. Thank you for caring. Did I see another hand? Yes, please.
Story on the ketchup.
The story on the ketchup? Somebody told me one time that, I think it was an athlete, Roger Clemens, by the way, from Houston, the pitcher. He's got some problems now with the Hall of Fame with some other things that he did. But he said this, and it made a lot of sense to me. He said, if you're going to eat salt, which we have to eat, you have to take in salt, don't take it in with your ketchup. Eat good quality salt on your food, right? Because ketchup and mustard, a lot of the condiments have a lot of stuff in it that's not good for you. I know it's a really common food product, but I read that and it touched me and I got away from it, haven't missed it. That's my story. Yes, sir.
Mike, I love the term lifetime Rotarian.
Yes.
And I'm sure everyone in here is a lifetime Rotarian. Would you expound a little bit more on using that term? I've been very disappointed over the last 10 years with people in our club that either retire or they sell the business and make mega bucks and then they drop out.
Yeah.
When they can help the community with greatest, they leave.
Yeah, thank you. I think I understand the question, and this is just me talking, right? So we can continue the conversation later. But I think the key question here is, why do people leave? And we have 2 problems measuring the answer to this question. The first is that people are way too nice in the exit survey about why they leave. They never tell us the truth. They never tell us for example, they never say the club sucks. And sometimes they leave because the club sucks. The club experience is not what they thought it was going to be, and so they're out of here. And that's unfortunate, but we need to know more about that if we're going to fix it, and they won't tell us, so that's a problem. I think a second problem is that they join for this good feeling that we promised them on the way in. You're going to feel so much better about yourself. And then we make the process of them doing that painful. We have maybe meetings that are not smoothly run, or we have issues in the club like politics or arguing sometimes, and it kind of turns people off. We've got to make sure that they have that feeling every time they come to a meeting. And these are difficult issues, and they're going to take a little bit of figuring out. But those are two early thoughts that we can cook on this weekend. Why they leave, though, super important.
No, I always thought of it as they never bought into Rotary and the good that it does. It was just a place to go eat lunch.
Yeah, and for sure there are people that joined. Did you hear that they never bought into it in the first place? They were short timers. They were always short timers, and that's probably true for some
It has
people.
to do with that value proposition that you always talk about.
Yeah, well, we pitched them this value proposition, and then after 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, 14 months, they're not getting it anymore, and so I'm out of here. I'm going to go try to find it someplace else. That's sometimes what happens. Another question or comment?
No, I really like what you said about, I love your story of work in Kiwanis. Our club president, her husband is on the board of the Lafayette Kiwanis Club. And they have put together 2 projects that our club has done in conjunction with Kiwanis. And, you know, what you said about Rotary is about helping people that you don't know. It's similar to how I've always phrased it in terms of what Rotary is about coming together to leave the world a little better than how you found it.
That's right.
And when I give elevator speeches to people who become Rotarians, I of course try to encourage Rotary. But the end message is, look, if it's Lions, if it's Rotary, if it's Kiwanis, just get involved in the community and make it better. And so I was really glad that you wrote that in as a theme.
Yeah.
You said.
So thank you. So the positive conclusion to this is Rotary's always been the same. It's always been the same value proposition. We need to get better at pitching it and then keeping people with us because they're in the right place. We just need the package has to be more attractive and more consistent for them. So let's talk about that more this weekend, okay? Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Thank you.